What's up guys, I'm Joshua Weissman and today I want to talk to you about bagels. And in case you didn't know me, I'm not talking about that store-bought bullshit, alright? Let's just get that off the table. I'm talking about real deal New York style bagels. And I'm going to show you how to make them. Now, as with any yeasted bread, you're gonna have to bloom your yeast first. Now, you're gonna want your water to be about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. To that warm water, you're gonna add 10 grams of yeast, which is about a tablespoon, and 23 grams of sugar, which is about 1.5 tablespoons. Just give it a little stir to get it immersed in the water, and let it rest for about 10 minutes. It'll get nice and puffed up like this. Give it yet another stir to get it all mixed in there. Next, to a bowl, you're gonna add 500 grams of bread flour, which is about 3.5 cups, 6 grams of salt, which is about 1.5 teaspoons, and finally add your yeast bloom mixture. Now, just mix it with your hands. You don't need to use a whisk or a spoon, just use your hands. It's gonna be okay, you can wash your hands. And you're just gonna mix it till you get a shaggy dough. Don't worry about any remaining flour that's in the bottom. It's gonna get immersed when we need the dough. Just squeeze off any remaining dough off your fingers, and wash your hands because, yeah. Now turn that dough out onto a work surface, get some of the remaining stuff out of the bottom, and begin kneading it. So when you knead dough, you're basically going to pull it into itself and then push it against itself. So you're pulling it back, folding it over, and then pushing it against itself with the palm of your hand. You're gonna repeat that process and do that for about 10 minutes. And you're gonna notice this dough go from rough to this beautifully smooth, silky dough. I mean, come on, look at that thing. Now, go ahead and take the sides and fold them into itself and under, kind of pulling it together, and then roll it on a board to form it into a boule. Now, if you don't want to do that, you can skip that process, not that big of a deal. Now, once you've done that, you're gonna drop that into an oiled large or medium large bowl and cover it with a damp towel. Now, roll it around so that the dough does not stick to the bottom. Let it rise 1 hour. Now here we can see that the dough has doubled in size and it kind of stuck, and I'm gonna taste this, which was a huge regret of mine. As you can see, yeah, decided that was a bad idea, toss that into the background. Now take out your aggressions because you don't get paid enough and punch down the dough. Maybe not quite that excessively, but you get the point. Now turn your dough over onto a lightly floured work surface and divide it into 8 equal pieces. I do that by cutting it in half and then cutting each of those halves into 4 equal pieces, thus resulting in 4 plus 4, 8 equal pieces. My God. Anyway, as you can see here, I like to mark each spot before I actually make the cut, and then I follow through and make those cuts. Next, with each of those pieces, you're going to shape each one into a perfect little ball by folding all the sides of them up and into themselves, just lightly pressing, pull it together, turn it over seam side down, and then on your board on a non-floured surface, specifically you kind of want it to stick a little bit, and then what you're going to do is with the seam side touching the unfloured surface, you're going to swirl it around and around while maintaining constant contact, and that will create a nice perfect little ball. Repeat that with each of the balls. That feels weird to say. Cover that with a damp dish towel and let that rest for 10 minutes. Now you're going to make your everything bagel seasoning. Now, I mean, why wouldn't you want everything bagels anyway? You're going to start with 2 tablespoons of dried garlic flakes, 2.5 tablespoons of dried onion flakes, 1.5 tablespoons of white sesame seeds, 1 tablespoon of poppy seeds, 1 tablespoon of black sesame seeds, and finally a heaping half tablespoon of flaky sea salt. Mix that all up until it is thoroughly combined. And I mean, that's it. You know, you've got everything bagel seasoning just chilling in your house now. So, you're welcome. Now that your dough is rested for 10 minutes, you're gonna take one of those balls and you're gonna press a floured thumb and index finger through the center of a dough ball, kind of like you're pinching through the center. The whole point is to start to make the hole. No pun intended. Now, once you've done that, you're gonna twirl it around 2 fingers, lightly, very carefully pulling it apart. And what that's gonna do is it's just gonna slowly make that hole a little bit bigger and just stretch the dough out a little bit. Now, you don't wanna do this too much. Just repeat this process until you get the right width. The hole should be about 1 inch in diameter, no more than that. It's gonna rise and it's gonna get bigger, so I wouldn't want to get the hole any bigger than that. DJ, spin that and you should repeat that process with all of your bagels. Now for the most important part, get a pot of water to a boil. Once your pot of water is boiling, drop it down to a gentle boil and drop your bagels in. Make sure you only add your bagels in a single layer. Don't try and stack them on top of each other, and leave room for expansion because they will begin to expand a little bit in here. Now gently boil these bagels for 1 to 2 minutes per side. 2 minutes for maximum chewiness and 1 minute for my personal ideal chewiness. Now these bagels have been boiling for about a minute on one side, so now I'm flipping all of them and I'm going to boil them for another minute on the other side. Now once they're done boiling, I'm going to pull them out of the water, drain them as much as I can in that spider, and drop them on a lightly oiled baking sheet. This is what they're going to bake on. Next, you're going to brush each bagel with egg wash. I know they look a little wrinkly and weird right now, but I promise they're going to puff up and look nice when they go in the oven. Now once each bagel is brushed with egg wash, you're going to sprinkle on your everything bagel seasoning onto each of your bagels. Maybe leave a couple plain in case there's a couple people who just don't understand that bagel life. Now once they've all been seasoned, you're going to drop them in the oven at 425 for 20 minutes. Now, as per tradition, let us see the final product. Now, I'm going to start with a thick smear of cream cheese. Follow that up with a slice of tomato. Next, capers. Now, sliced lox. A little more for good measure. A touch more capers. Followed by thinly sliced red onion. Then garnish it with a generous amount of dill. Top it, cut it in half, and enjoy. Alright guys, that's it for today's episode. All in all, the bagel was a legitimate 10 out of 10. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you next week.